Hello and welcome to part 2 of this Affinity Design Affinity Photo tutorial, looking at making some 3D text. Now at the end of part 1 we'd got to this point here, and you could quite easily save this as it is and use it maybe as a PDF because there is no background, so you could have all the sort of background invisible and use it wherever you want, or we can carry on and extend this a little bit further. Now while I was editing the first part, I did spot a possible mistake in this F here. So if I come to this group and try, oh, that was a bit of luck, first time, that bit there, let me zoom in. Yes, I didn't take that node up to the top, so let me come to the node tool and just bring that up to there, because when we do the gradient bit, it may have, this bit wouldn't have been affected because it wasn't covered by this panel. So this is why it does sort of pay to sort of go back and just double check that you've got everything that you want selected is selected. So let me zoom out again, come off of that tool, close this group. Right, let's come off that tool. So what we're going to be doing is adding gradients to the different groups. Why these are split into different groups is because the gradients are going to be going in different directions and maybe different intensities. So we're going to start with the left group, and I'm going to come to the gradient tool, and we're going to be using a linear gradient, and I'm going to just move this around so it's pretty much facing straight down. Let's have it a bit more centered between the letters, like that. So I'm going to edit this gradient, and I'm going to have white at the top, just make sure that is white, yes, and at the other end I'm going to go with the swatches and use the grey swatches, and I'm going to go for about 60% grey here, just so you can see we've got a little bit darker at the bottom and lighter at the top. I can move either this panel here and just sort of find a look that I like. So I'm going to go for about there, so it's a little bit darker at the bottom than it is at the top. Again, you could always move these up and down to alter that effect. I mean, I could come to about there, so it doesn't start getting lighter till about halfway up. This is why every time I've done this they've all looked differently, because it's each individual one I alter the look of how it is. So I'm now going to come to the right group. Again, I'm still on the gradient tool sort of thing, so I'm going to just hold down the shift and draw a gradient down here. Now this time I'm going to want a much darker area at the bottom, so I'm going to make this one around the 90% darkness, so it's much darker at the bottom than it is on this side. Again, I can just move this up so that's a bit quite dark there. Maybe 90% is a bit too much. Let's just bring that down to, let's try 85%, might be a better option. It's not as dark as the front, although we'll be changing the front in a minute anyway. So right, I'm happy with that bit there. So then it's just a case of the undersides of these letters. So again, I'm going to come to roughly the middle of all the letters and draw a gradient here. And again, I'm going to make this sort of quite dark to about there. And just might be easier to zoom in to see what effect this is having. Yeah, so those have come dark there. Yes, I'm fairly happy with that. I have noticed I've got a bit of a red line showing there. I'll see if I can find that particular one. So let me just come off that tool a second. So this would be in the right section. Open that up. Let's see if I can find the right panel that is on. Here we go. Come to the node tool. I'll zoom in. And I'll just nudge that over. So you're not seeing the red. There's a little bit of red showing there as well, which I'm guessing is that one. Let's have a quick look around, see if I've... Yeah, see that one there is not too brilliant either. So that would be somewhere near the top, I would imagine, that one. Well, that's a good guess. And it'd be easier to come to the move tool, click on that one, come back to the node tool, and then just nudge that up to there. So it does pay to sort of have a quick look around and see if there's any major areas I missed off. So let's come to the move tool on that one. No, I need to be in the other group. And then come to the node tool. Right, that's all the fine tuning done. Let's close those for now. Now I do want to add a little bit of extra to this section in the A. So I'm going to come to the move tool to highlight that section. I'll double click it. No, I'm not on the move tool. Keeps jumping back to the node tool. Let's find that one. That's it. And I want to alter the gradient on this, so I'll highlight that gradient tool and make sure I'm on this particular level layer, and I will give this its own gradient. I'm going to make it darker. Let's make this about 80% down there, and then it's just a case of working out how you want this to look. Right, let me zoom out, come off that tool, so that has a slightly darker than the underside of the A. So I'm now fairly happy with how that looks. Let me close that, and I'm going to highlight the top layer. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to click on the first letter in the group, hold down shift and click on the bottom letter so it highlights all of those, and then I'm going to come to the styles, and these are the styles that we made at the beginning of video 1, and I'm going to pick that first one to give me that sort of shine, metallic shine look. I mean, you could go for the gold, which I also made at the beginning, or have them coming down, which doesn't particularly work so well in this particular style, but I'm going to stick with the one that's going vertically. So that is this section of this tutorial done. So I'm going to save this again now, and I'll be back. Right, okay, I have saved that now, and if you have saved yours, you have another version of this, especially if you saved it as a PNG with a blank background, and you can add this to whatever, logo, if you've made it for a logo or something like that. So coming back to the layers panel, let me shut that down, and we're going to come to the rectangle tool, and we're going to draw a rectangle over the top of that. Now it has kept the sort of gradient that we used previously, but we're going to alter that anyway. But we're going to change this to from a linear to an elliptical, and just need to find the center. With snapping on, you get the red and green line that will tell you. It would help if I hadn't clicked accidentally, but just draw outwards. I'm holding down the shift to keep it straight. So we got this white going to grey because it was partly the colours that were previously set. So I'm going to click into there, and I'm going to change the middle colour, which is white, and I'm going to change this to a red colour, and the colour I'm going to use is B46262, which gives me that red look, and you can keep holding the shift so it doesn't move so much. You can alter this however you want. Move the slider to get a much bigger circle here, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to change the end color to black. Here we go, black. Now that first color, what I am going to do is I'm going to add some noise to that. So how much noise is sort of up to you, but I'll add it to about there. And what I am going to do, I'm going to click on this icon and I'm going to drag it down to the bottom so that it is now behind the wording, and as you can see, that sort of glow effect is highlighting the gradients that we added. So then it's just a case of just fine tuning how you want it to look, you know, bigger, smaller. I'm going to go to about there. Again, you can fine tune whichever you want, what you think works. You can even move the center point up if you want it to look better. Yes, I think that looks a bit better. Right, so let me just quickly come off of that tool and make sure we're on that layer. I've accidentally somehow managed to put that into that group. Let me drag this down to the bottom and move this group back to the top where it should be, up there. Sorry about this. Right, let's make sure that this is outside and at the bottom where it should be. Right, that's better. I wondered where that'd gone. I'd accidentally put it into the group at the top. Right, so highlighting this background, which is now at the back where it should be, I'm going to add a new pixel layer, which is that one there, and for this I'm going to transfer into the pixel persona and come to the paintbrush, and I'm going to select one of the explosion brushes that I downloaded and mentioned in the first video. Just a case of finding one. Let's try it. I think it was this one here, which has got this nice big explosion, and we're going to change the color to a sort of orange color. Let's close that like this, and then I'll just increase the size a bit. So we put it about there, just click once. So come off of that tool a second, and then I'll just drag this down, this side up, and then it's a case of trying to find a blend mode. Let me just put it on color dodge for a second, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this layer up, and in between it, maybe the left, the right, the bottom, we'll see which one looks the best. So because if I put it like between the left and the right, hopefully you can see it's only really affecting those on the left. It's having no real effect to the right hand side. And if I move it up between the right and bottom layers, it's affecting both the left and right, but not the bottom gradients. And if I put it there, which is above all the different groups, as you can see, it is having an effect on the gradients. So now, again, it's just a case of finding a blend mode that you personally like the look of. Some will be better than others. See that one there, what's that? I'm on overlay, that's not too bad. If you want a lot of that explosion effect still to be there, you could go with hard light. No, my personal preference here, I think, is yes, I think hard light. Let's go with hard light. I can always lower the opacity of that just to sort of tone it down a little bit so your gradient is still a bit more visible. Right, yes, I'm fairly happy with that. And I'll just keep that there for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to open up some particle images. So let me come to, these are the ones I mentioned in the first video. So I'm going to open that in Designer, which is number 3 and number 4. So let's have a look at this one, which was number 4. I am just going to add a levels adjustment to this, and I'm going to make that black even blacker just by lowering the gamma, and I'm going to merge that in, and then I'm going to copy, come back to my image here, and then edit and paste. I'm going to resize this, and I'm going to change the blend mode to screen, which will get rid of all the black. The darker it is, the better the effect will look. So it's just a case of moving and twisting this around to get a look that you like the look of. So again, I'm going to come up to the number 3 one, add the levels adjustment, make the black even blacker, merge it in, copy, and then edit and paste. And I think this time I'm going to spin it round and then resize it. And change its blend mode to screen. Alright, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to come back to the draw persona, because now I'm going to add some vector particles via a brush, which I did mention in the first video. These are ones that I made myself, and they are available as a download from a link that will be in the description for the first video and this video. There's 3 of them, and I made them actually from these particle images here. So I'm going to pick the first one, make sure the color is white, and then add a new layer, and it's just a case of painting some smaller particles in and around the image. I can also change to a different brush, add some particles, extra particles on here. Let's try the last brush. Alright, now the only sort of last thing you may want to do is just get rid of these straight edges of this layer here. Now this might best be done in the pixel persona, because if I add a layer mask to that persona, let's have a look. come to the brush, come to a more basic normal brush. Let's go assorted. Try a low opacity, it's around the 30% mark. Hardness, let's lower that down to about 10%. Increase the size of this. Make sure we're in black, and then just nibble away at this edge, just to sort of get rid of that sharp area, so it's not so obvious. Just make that a bit hazy. Let's do a bit similar to the top here. It's not brilliant, but you get the idea. So that's, I think that will do for now. I don't want to go overboard with the effect. I'll just sort of try and make it look more like the explosion and less like a sort of the picture that it sort of is. So I'll come back to the vector persona. And what I might do, technically this is the end, but what I will do, I think, is just add a levels adjustment, and I'll just make the for some reason it's added it to that group. I wanted it out, so I've moved it up and out of that group, and make the overall picture darker. Yes, happy with that, so I'll close that. So that is the end of the tutorial, or both tutorials. So hopefully you've learnt some things along the way, be it making your own styles, or using the pen tool, or using the gradient tool, or all sorts of just about everything was used in here. Like I said, it is probably easier and better looking done in Designer, but it is possible to do in Photo as well. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.